Republican Senator Gregg now serves on the Banking Committee and is ranking member of the Budget Committee and joins us from Capitol Hill. Let's talk about Greece and this contagion that is likely affecting other countries in Europe as well. We see that the euro fell below 130 for the first time in more than a year. What concerns do you have as someone working on all of this on the Hill?
Well, I think we all should be very concerned about what's happening in Europe, the domino effect. They've got a serious problem there in that these nations are all tied into the euro, but they all have different economic structures and deficit structures. And so you have Greece, which is essentially an insolvent country. You have Portugal, which has got serious problems. You've got Spain, which has problems not as serious as Greece or Portugal. And Ireland has very serious problems. And when they get into these problems, not only do they bring that nation down, but they potentially bring a lot of other countries with them and certainly affect the value of the euro. And that's a problem for the world. If the euro and Europe isn't strong and robust, they're a place where we sell a lot of goods. They're a place that's one of the critical economic engines of the world, along with, of course, ourselves and Asia, China, and India. And we can't afford to have a Europe that's basically imploding on itself over the issue of sovereign debt because the countries have overextended themselves and they can't figure out a way to get out from underneath it.
And here at home,
Senator Andrea,
yep.
I'm sorry. We might also want to know, Andrea, that the United States is on the same path. You know,
I was going to ask you that exactly.
We're 5 to 7 years from where Greece is.
You know, could we get into this kind of bind ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. Our national debt is going to double in 5 years. It's going to triple in 10 years. We're looking at a public debt to GDP ratio that will hit around 100%. That's basically banana republic status. That's junk bond status. And the implications of it for our ability to pay that debt off and for the world to support us when we're running those types of deficits and debt is very dramatic. It would mean, if we continue on the path that we're on today, where we're spending so much more than we're taking in and we're allowing government to grow so much from its historic levels. Historically, it's been about 20% of GDP. It's going up to 26% of GDP. If we allow that to continue, we're essentially going to pass on to our kids a country which is significantly less prosperous and where the standard of living will go down.
I want to talk to you about Wall Street reform. There has not been a single vote on any amendment. There are dozens of amendments. The Democrats say that the Republicans, that you guys are holding it all up. When are we going to see some progress? There's already been an agreement on dropping that $50 billion prepaid fund, but when are we going to see some progress? Is it happening behind the scenes and we just don't know what's happening?
Yes, that's right. And it's unfortunate that people would be saying that there isn't progress being made. In fact, Senator Dodd just announced on the floor they'd reached agreement, he and Senator Shelby, on one of the key elements of the bill, which is how you deal with too big to fail and resolution authority, so that we no longer have any situation where taxpayers' dollars may have to come in to back up a company that got in trouble and took too many risks and becomes too big to, and is claimed to be too big to fail. Now they'll fail. And the taxpayers won't be there to back them up under this language which Senator Dodd and Senator Shelby have worked out. It took a few days to do it, but it's done. That's the way it should be done. We should go through this bill. It's got a lot of big issues in it. Too big to fail is one, derivatives is another, underwriting standards is another, corporate governance is another, consumer protection is another. We actually should go through this bill and do the same thing that's been done here on resolution authority and too big to fail, where we had a bipartisan effort by the ranking member and the chairman, Senator Shelby, Senator Dodd, and try to reach agreements on these critical issues, because this really isn't a partisan bill. I mean, getting financial reform right is not a partisan issue, in my opinion. It's just an issue of getting it right.
And do you think that there will be agreement on the derivative piece?
It's hard to say. The bill that came out of the Agriculture Committee was really fundamentally flawed and would do significant damage to our ability as a nation to create credit on Main Street, and would send a lot of jobs overseas and most of the derivatives market to go with it. So it needs to be changed, substantively changed. Myself and Senator Chambliss are going to offer an amendment to accomplish that. We would love to have it be a bipartisan initiative. I think there is fertile ground for a bipartisan agreement there. Whether we can reach it or I do not know, but I'm certainly going to work in that direction.